I think first, obviously, our border system failed, but it failed because we didn't have the intelligence. And Christopher Wray warned last week that there was basically a black hole of intelligence, quite frankly, surrounding ISIS-K, and that these individuals could come in, not be on watch lists. And we have to remember, when we pulled out of Afghanistan, the largest terror group there was ISIS-K. We lost the ability to collect information on them. And so really, that's why none of these individuals were put on terror watch lists.
So, Chad, we don't blame CBP for this, per se. But what does it say about the state of threat and how prepared we are? Or do you have to give a nod to the men and women that wound up making the arrests also?
Yeah, I think you do. Look, I think there's a couple important points here. One is the vetting, right? And your other guest alluded to that, which is the intelligence. Our vetting is only as good as the information that we get back from foreign countries, in this case, Tajikistan, which is not very good, right? No. The best intelligence and the best vetting we can do is from our allies, like the UK, Australia, and others. And so I think that's something that we've got to get our hands around. Second, what this tells you is that this idea and this policy of simply apprehending individuals. I've seen reporting that 2 of them did come across illegally. 1 did use that CBP app. I'm not sure about the others, but that when they did come across, they're not detained. Instead, they're released into American communities and then obviously targeted and picked up at a later date. And I think that's what's concerning for most Americans. They say, look, why are these individuals being released into American communities? And for how long were they here? And are there others? And I think those are basic questions that
Chad,
the government needs to answer.
You know there are others. And I know you guys always do a good job of not scaring people without, a backstop of information or a program that are in place. But we know there are others. Let me ask you this. With the benefit of hindsight and your understanding of the system, Chad, do you believe that catch and release is an unsustainable risk to American national security and has to end? And for people at home, you know what that means. It means what it sounds like. They catch you, they process you, and then even if you're not supposed to be here, they give you a trial date and they let you go.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's certainly risky. And look, you can treat different populations differently, right? Single adults that are coming across that border that are military age from certain countries and having them released into American communities is vastly different than perhaps releasing children or families. And so there are some differences that you can make, right? There's limited detention capability and space, right? Which is why the Remain in Mexico program was put in place under President Trump. So there's a variety of different options to explore here. But this idea that you're going to have millions come over in the last several years and the vast majority of those being released into American communities, I don't think is the right approach, and I think there's a number of public safety and national security concerns there.
One more quick thing, and then I'm coming to you, Tracy. I got a couple of questions for you. But Chad, before I do that, we're talking about politics now, okay? And Biden is on the hook for the southern border because he undid so many executive actions early on and sent messaging that certainly increased flow and that did nothing about it for years and is now blaming Congress for not working on it with him. We see the politics, and we know why he was giving a nod to his left flank and going easy on the southern border. But in terms of the reality of what has to happen, what needs to happen at the southern border for the country to be safe from terrorism and for people who are coming here for bad reason, not for a job?
Sure. So politics aside, you need a different approach along that border, and you got to bring some deterrence back, and you got to bring consequences back. Individuals that are crossing, such as in the San Diego sector, and you just see them walking across the border, they have no fear of consequence. They have no fear of being returned back to their home countries or put in other detention settings. And so they're going to keep coming across. They're going to keep being released. And when they call back home to their friends and family and tell them more and more and more is coming. And so you've got to bring some deterrence and hold people accountable for breaking the law. I think that's where you start.
So, Tracy, you guys always had such a hard time because ISIS people sail through all the time because there's such bad home country information, as you heard from Chad. What do these guys want with us right now? Why would ISIS be looking to gear up? We're not messing around in the region, or are they going to side with the Iran-backed proxies?
Well, that's an interesting question because actually ISIS-K and Iran don't get along. They're the ones that bombed Soleimani's funeral service. And so it's really interesting to see that this is happening. You know, like you mentioned before, they really were just contained into the Afghan-Pakistan region, but a lot of their leaders were actually expelled from Afghanistan into Tajikistan and into Uzbekistan. And as a result, and the success that they've had in Germany, in Europe, and in other places, they are gaining confidence. And that is why I think that they had dispersed into the US because they were trying to attack us.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.